Hi, I hope you viewers are doing well. The comments I'm going to make will be called Changing Attitudes, Segment 10. It's, like all my stories, a true tale that I'm going to tell you. My brother had called me at my office some days ago and asked if I would talk to a co-worker of his who had some health problem, and she could meet me on Thursday afternoon late. So here we are. I'm at my brother's condominium, and when I enter, I see my sister-in-law sitting in one chair and two other women I'd never seen before. So my sister-in-law offers me a tea like everybody else had, and I sit down and I'm told the name of the lady in the ivory long skirt dress. It's a full length dress. Who has a pleasant smile on her face, and she's the person I'm supposed to assist. The other lady has a stern look on her face. She's wearing a blue blouse and a skirt that goes down to her calves. I don't know why she looks so stern. So I say hello to them, and then I talk to the lady that I'm supposed to help, and I ask her what is it that she has that she wants to correct. She tells me she has a rash, very painful rash. I think, okay, skin, all right. So I ask her a few questions about life at home, and I get no answers to my questioning mind about anything occurring there that could be giving her a problem. I ask her about her work, and she tells me she works in a department that is next to the department my brother works in. And I ask her how long she's had this problem. She says a good 10 weeks. I said, figuring something has to be going on at her job. So I ask her about her boss, and she tells me, yes, he's been there, head of the department for 3 years, and we always got along until recently. I said, how recently? She said, well, 10, 11 weeks ago, he started treating me badly. So I said, does he treat anybody else badly? She says, yeah, there's women in my department that say he's not pleasant, he's mean, insulting. But he was never that way with me until recently. I said, well, did you try to figure out what it is you're doing differently? If he had treated you nicely before, did you figure out why he was treating you not so good now? She said, no, I couldn't figure it out. I do the same work all the time. I do it the same way all the time. It's just, it changed. I said, so he used to be nice to you? Oh, yes, very nice. But that changed. Yes. Can you tell me some incident that occurred 10, 11 weeks ago that is different from other days? She said, well, I was sitting with 3 women that always tell me how awful he is, and I could never agree with him because he was never awful to me. And they were talking about him when he entered the lunchroom and walked past them and uttered some rude remarks to them as he passed. And I thought, oh my God, he is unpleasant. These women are going to think I was a fool saying he was nice. I said, was it after this that your symptom occurred? She said, yes. I said, all right. Then here's what I want you to do. Do you like cats? Yeah, I like cats. Okay, they're very nice. I said, well, I want you to use your imagination, because there's a method that I want to talk about. And I look over at the sister, who's still giving me a stern look, hasn't touched her tea. And I'm thinking, she's here to protect her sister from maybe me being a charlatan. So now I'm going to prove to her I am. I say to the pleasant sister, I say, I want you to, I said, there's such a thing as reading a person by knowing the person by their body movements and how they dress and so on. Are you aware of that? She says, yes. I said, well, psychically, we also pick up something. So it's not just what we see with our eyes. It can also be psychically sensed what a person is like. So I want you to do something that's going to involve sending a psychic message to your boss. Okay? She says, well, okay. I said, okay, imagine you're resting at home with your eyes closed, and on your lap or in your arms, there's a cat, and you're patting it, and it's purring it. It's purring. It's pleasant satisfaction she's receiving. Okay, so when you're doing this, you'll start to feel yourself smiling. And I say, while you're smiling and feeling good, bring the picture of the face of your boss entering your room and smiling at you and saying hello. And you smile back, and you do this for 10 seconds. And then you say, it is done. You get up, go do the dishes or brush your teeth or something so that you forget what you did. You gotta release it into the ether so it can travel over to your boss. Got that? She says, yes. I said, can you do that? She said, yes. I said, okay. So that will help correct your skin problem in a few days. She says, well, my skin problem temporarily has disappeared. I said, it's gone? She said, yes. I said, so why am I here? Why are we here? She said, well, I thought it went into remission. It's gone. What, you're getting along with your boss now? She said, yeah, for the last 2 or more weeks. Oh my goodness, that's good. I said, what did you do? Because you had to have done something. She said, well, actually, yeah, but 3 weeks ago, I was thinking about how nice he always was, what pleasant things he said to me, and how happy I was with him. And then I was able to sleep soundly. I thought, well, yeah, and your dreams helped commute the good feelings to her boss. So she told me what I just described to her as an exercise is basically what she did through her own thinking. I said, yes, exactly. And that's how the mind can work. It can bring a problem around, and it can correct the problem it did bring around. So I think we've got everything covered. And I'll say goodbye because I have another place to get to. So my brother walks me to the door and out into the hall, and he says, I was watching you do that. You're like a detective, asking a few questions, making a few some assumptions, and you hit the nail right on the head. I said, well, I sensed very quickly that she was a thin-skinned person. I mean, that means sensitive. She's probably never used a swear word in her life. She is probably maybe timid, maybe. She may be concerned how people feel about her, or she may not, but I think she is. I usually tell people like that to repeat, I don't care what people say or think about me because I am fine. And I ask them to do that about 30 times, 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night, because they have to thicken their skin up and not be concerned with what people are thinking of them. So that's basically my story. When I have a Mrs. Kane, a friend of mine, when she heard me describe this story to some people later, she said, you could have healed my husband of his mesothelioma. I gotta get this right, mesothelioma disease. I said, what do you mean? She said, well, he was thin-skinned. I said, but you told me before he was dying, while he was in the process of losing his life, you told me his organs were being attacked. She says, not the organs, but the skin around the organs. That thin skin, I imagine when I talked to her about it, you mean like that skin that holds a yolk up when you crack it open? The yolk sits up there and then you pierce the skin or the film and the yolk runs? She said, yeah. I said, but what's that got to do with your former husband? She says, it was the skin, the sac that is around organs. And that's what was getting attacked. So really, I don't know if what I think about on this subject would be helpful because of course, asbestos and it's not removable. So could I help? I don't mind trying. But I can't walk around to hospitals asking them, can you introduce me to people with this type of disease? Nor could I do that with people with kidney problem, which I've helped a number, if it wasn't due to, excuse me. If it wasn't due to alcohol. So, yeah, I'd love to go to the counter in hospitals and say, can you tell me the names and the rooms your patients are in that have kidney problem or mesothelioma symptoms? Privacy acts nowadays doesn't let anybody tell anybody anything. So there's not much I can do. But now and then some people come to me through people who know me, and I have help, but not in that particular disease. I appreciate your attendance, and I wish you all the best, and I will say goodbye.